welcome you this evening. We're going to get started, and I just want to welcome you all to our Equal Pay series for Women Leading Change Now. This is Yvonne Gamble, and I'm also going to be introducing. Joining me is Bylon Mahino, and she's our Vice President of Media for Women Leading Change Now. So I'd like to welcome you all and jump right in, and I'll make introductions as we go along. Feel free to raise your hand, and also you can put questions in the chat, and we'll be able to answer your questions as we go along throughout the seminar. So our panelists, as as I said, are myself, Yvonne Gamble, and then we have Bylon Mahino, and she is also the executive mentor and principal for WLA Global. So we'll be your panelists speaking this evening, and you'll be able to ask questions, and hopefully if the questions are not answered, we will also have information where you can actually contact us later to make certain that we answer all the questions that you have. What we intend to impart to you today is going to be fun, it's going to be knowledgeable. What you're going to learn is how many people actually negotiate for their salary. This is an overview session for the Equal Pay series, and this is meant to set the tone and to get you ready for actually what's coming next, which is going to ultimately end in our salary negotiations. So we're going to learn today what makes up a salary, what is a job offer, and the different things you need to know before you get to the table for a negotiation, how and what you want to personalize your pay on. And we're going to look at, we've got actually 21 salary non-negotiable items, but today we're only going to look at 3 of those. So we're going to take them in small bits, small bites, and that way what it will do is at the end we'll add it all up together and you'll see those 21, how they fit. Some people may only apply 3, some may apply 10, some may apply all 21 of them. So we'll take a look at that. And then Bylon Mahino will come to us and she'll talk to us about creating an aligned life and what that looks like, that balance that you have to strike between work and play and educating myself and all those different things and how they fit together. My finances, my visions, my goals, and she'll talk to us about that and the value of aligning those and then looking at the next steps of how that actual value alignment fits in where you are today and where you want it to go for tomorrow. And then, of course, we'll look at the Equal Pay series and some of the other titles that we have that are going to be coming ahead in this summer series. So let's move on. And what we want to find out now is the very first thing we talked about, that is how many people actually negotiate their salaries. And as we can see, it's about 93% of women do not negotiate. Only about 7% actually do negotiate their salaries. And believe it or not, that's not just simply the 7% of women who might earn a 6-figure income, which more times than not is what we think about. Women with the highly technical jobs, be they lawyers, be they attorneys, high-paid consultants. We look at them and we think these are the ones that make up necessarily that 7%. Not necessarily. Women have learned what to negotiate, and that's what we're going to talk about as we dig deeper into this whole. We're really going to peel back this onion and dig into what goes into this negotiation. Because what we want to do is we want to move out of that 90% of us never negotiating anything, that 90% plus. Or those who occasionally may ask for a raise or may ask for some flex time or something. We want to move away from that, and we definitely want to stay out of that red stop sign right there that says only 5% of the people are sitting there that say they always negotiate. That's what we want to get to. So we don't want to be in that never negotiate. We want to take and flip those numbers and make that 93% of women always negotiate. That's what we want to get to ultimately. So makes up a salary? What is your compensation? What does that look like? Compensation is that total package. It's all these things going in together. It's not just simply salary. When I say I want to be compensated for the work that I do, and you say you want to be compensated for the work that you do, you're needing to look at all these different areas and how they fit into your life, the different perks that you're going to get, the different benefits, because each one of these areas, as you can see, has a cost factor associated with it. Your education goals may be different from another person's education goals. Maybe what all you need to do is just finish out your bachelor's degree. Someone else may need to get that college education. Someone else may simply need to finish out their PhD. Those education goals, those education costs are going to be all different. So therefore, when you look at that compensation and you're thinking of how do I approach this particular employer and ask for my compensation package, you can't just simply go out to salary.com or some of the other websites and just see, what those hard line numbers are. You have to say, what does this mean to me? What does this mean for me? And you have to personalize it to yourself and to your situation, not only today, but more importantly, where you're wanting to go to and where you want to get to. And that brings us to the other side of the coin, and that is what is in the job offer. Your job offer can include any number of these things, and more times than not, it does include all these things. And when we put salary out front and you're asking for a particular salary, a particular amount, your employer is sitting, or your prospective or potential employer is sitting on the other side of the table, and they're counting the cost. They're counting how much is this health and retirement benefits going to cost me. If you're a high-level employee coming into that company, this could be costing them a hefty amount for life insurance that they have to pay for you, for travel insurance if you travel on the job, if you travel internationally. All those costs go up. So every time you're asking for an additional amount, they're adding to it all these other costs that go in there, all these other factors. So what you want to do, here's a little tip. Before you get to the table, you want to have counted the cost and list out what these actual costs. This is the information that you want to be doing your research on and finding out, so that when you're sitting down, now you're armed with the same information. Now now you have truly leveled the playing field. You know, coming to that table, what they're looking at, and now you know what you can ask for and how you can move the trade back and forth and make this a win-win situation for both sides of the table. Let's look a little deeper into this. Before you get to that table, it is extremely important and imperative that you know your value. What is most value to you? What is your most value is your market. How can you market yourself to be more valuable? The experience you have. Do you have a book of clients that you bring with you? Many people are in the different types of fields, be it in the real estate or be it in financing, what have you, and they carry with them a book of clientele who are loyal to them and who will change. You may even carry with you, if you're in management, people who are loyal to you and who will come with you. All of those become your assets. They become your leverageable capital that you bring to that company. A company looks at even beyond, I know we think the standard is, they say 5 times whatever your salary is, that's what a company wants to pay you because they expect you to make that amount. Well, that amount has actually ratcheted up. And in some instances, that could be as much as 10 times, especially if you're going into the development and into the new innovative type careers or into the high-tech areas. It can be much more. You need to know what that is, and you need to know what do you bring to that table to leverage for what that particular client actually needs. And then, is there room for growth? We always look at that, and we think of that as an old adage, but it's not. That's a new adage because now we're having a shorter time span at a particular company. No longer are we guaranteed going in working for a company, you're going to be there 20, 25, 30 years. Today, you may get 2, 3, maybe 5 years in. You know, if you really stretch it and push it, you might get 7 or 10 years in. So you want to really look at that. Okay, if I can only be here on average, let's say 5 years, then what can I do within this 5-year period or this 2-year period? And we're going to look at some of those different things that you can actually do to make it very beneficial to you. I talked about earlier, I made mention about personalizing your pay. That is extremely, extremely important that you personalize that to you and to what you have, and that you don't simply go in and ask for a blanket amount or an amount that someone said, well, this is what I asked for, so you can probably ask them and get the same thing. That does not work. You have to know what it is that you want, because what it is that you want, you'll be able to have justification for why you want that, and as well as you will have your if then else plan. If you will have all of your things in a row that says, if I do not get this, then I can accept something else, or this may not be the opportunity for me. One of the things that definitely we need to be able to do in our flex time. Time is the one thing you can't get back. No matter where you work, no matter what you do, you cannot get back the time. You can get a different education. You can get education pretty much from any employer. You can negotiate, and that person will pay for that because why? It's going to benefit them, and then that's something that you can take with you, and you can leverage that into another company. But time, you never get that back. And therefore, being able to work 3 days, having 2 days where you actually are off 2 additional days makes the difference. Time of day, depending on what's going on in your life. You may have that extra vacation time, be it paid or be it unpaid. All these are negotiables, and all these are ways to negotiate. You can even so much as go and negotiate for, I'll work 9 months out of the year, and I'm taking the same salary, and now I work 9 months. Well, guess what? You just got a raise, because those 3 months off, you may have an entrepreneurial spirit. You may have symposiums that you want to go to. You want to spend time with your children. Those become those things that you can't count the cost when you lose that time and you don't have that time to spend with your children and your family. You can't put a dollar amount on the loss of that time. Stock options, early vesting. We talked about how you may only get 5 years at a company. And vesting used to always be a standard at 5 years, 5 to 7, 5, anywhere between 5 to 10 years. A company was doing is vesting of the employees. If that company is maybe an upstart or middleware, or maybe at a point where they may be somebody may be looking to buy them out, those are the types of things that you need to be asking for. Early vesting in those stock options, so that you don't go there and spend 5 years with that company or 4.5 years, and then you don't get your vesting of the stocks that you have. Now you have spent that time, and part of your compensation package was the stock options, but now they're no longer there. So you don't want that to happen to you. You want to ask for early vesting. Health insurance. This is by far a major issue. Is sticking in everybody's craw. We're wondering what's going to happen with health insurance. Pre-existing conditions is a major. That is a major thing. Many of us are working with a pre-existing condition, and we want to make sure that we have those things. So it's not just simply, am I covered for health, but if you have any particular health issues or health needs that you have, or you look in your family and you see there's a history, there's a inherited history that may become up at a later point in time. You want to be aware of that, and you want to be thinking forward of that happening. And health insurance is important. Some of the smaller companies, especially the upstart companies, they may offer health insurance, and they may say, well, we only offer to a certain level. And that's something that you can now negotiate with if you're on that level or not. When you negotiate what those actual terms and conditions of the health insurance actually look like. Travel expenses, and I put this because this is one that's personal to me, being paid up front. As an independent contractor, I go out often, and I want to make certain that my travel is paid up front by the company because I can be out of $10,000 in a month's time. And if that's the case, that means I have to front that, and I have to, my billing, if I have a 30-day billing, well, guess what? I've got $10,000 worth of expenses that I just spent, and then I'm not going to get my billing until another 30 days. So I could be literally 60 days before I'm seeing any income come back in. So therefore, being able to negotiate that travel expense and having those amounts paid up front, it becomes very important, and that becomes a part of how I'm personalizing my pay so that I'm getting what I need. I like this. I like this slide, and I'll tell you why. Because this tells us, so what do I negotiate for? As we've been talking about, we've been discussing, we're talking about those things that are the things of value to your life. That's what you negotiate for. You don't chase the money. What you want to do is you actually want to stop that chase and the benefits of your life. Let your life be your reason. That's what you're negotiating for. You are negotiating to get back your time. You're negotiating to have things paid for up front where you're not having to front the cost of a business, be it a small business, medium size, or a Fortune 100 company. You don't want to be trying to cover those costs up front. That's too much wear and tear on you. So therefore, what you're doing is you're not simply taking from one pot and trying to cover it and put into another pot. Stop the chase. I like Tyra Banks. I chose her, and I chose her in this particular picture because everyone thought that what Tyra Banks did when she did America's Next Top Model, that her whole premise for that was simply to show us what the models look like and the pretty clothes and the different sceneries around the world and all that, what goes into the glamour and the glitz. But it was not. Her purpose for doing that was to show them their value and show to other models what their net worth and their value is, to let them know they are not a clothes hanger. They are not just someone to walk down the aisle and make someone else look good. They have a purpose. They have a reason. They have a value. That's why I chose her on this, because basically when she was telling them, stop chasing the money. And that was her message, her overriding message that she was giving to them. And it was very entertaining. She did it in a very entertaining way. It entertained the rest of the world, but her work was done with those models and for those models and for that industry. And I applaud her for that. Looking at moving to the top non-salary negotiables, we talked about health insurance, we talked about the stock options, the early vesting, and we talked about flexible scheduling. These are the top three non-salary negotiable benefits that you really do your homework on. You will find out. We will go deeper into this as we go through this series this summer, and we will explore each one of these and exactly how to present that, exactly what information you need to look for, and what the actual employers are thinking of when you're sitting at the table and you're saying, I want a flexible schedule, and I want to, I'm going to have my stock options. How much is that going to cost them? Because you have to look at both sides of the fence. What does it cost them? What does it cost you? Because when it costs them a certain factor, guess what? That now increases your net worth, your value. That increases your compensation package. The same thing with health insurance. It increases your compensation package. Flexible schedule returns to any employer a better employee, An employee whose moral is high, an employee who is very rested, the mind is clear, they can work smarter and not just simply harder. And we'll be looking at those. And what I would like to do now is I would like to actually turn it over to reintroduce Bailan Mahino, and she is the Vice President of Media for Women Leading Change Now. She is also the Executive Mentor and Principal of WLA Global, which is a social media marketing and public relations firm, and she's going to continue on in this particular webinar to let us know how it is that we need to create our aligned life. Bailan?
Thank you so much, Yvonne. I just want to double check. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very good.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on this session. This is a powerful session, and I think it works perfectly in what I'm going to be speaking of. You were talking about perks and benefits that are in a lot of different arenas of a person's life. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about how you can create your aligned life. And when I talk about aligned, I mean we look at what is the center guiding line that goes like from up in the sky where there is God, higher being, whomever you have as that guiding purpose for you, that comes all the way down through your thoughts, through your mind, through your emotions, through your physicality, through all of your decisions, for all of your business, your relationships, everything that you do in life, and including your legacy, going all the way through to your legacy and beyond. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to actually share a system with you that I use when I'm working with my private mentoring clients. So why align your life? Now, the reason I came around to this and developed this system was because I had what looked like on the outside the perfect life. I was there. I had a successful business. Our revenues, I had a residential remodeling company, and it was successful. We were making over $1 million a year. I had a big, beautiful home on a hill. I could see every single bridge in the San Francisco Bay Area. It was awesome on July 4th. My daughter was thriving. She was in high school, doing well, was getting ready to go to NYU. We took vacations 2 to 3 times a year, and we had money in the bank. The problem was that I was not happy. I felt empty inside because there was something missing, and I didn't know what that was that was missing. And as I was looking around, floundering around, trying to figure out, what is it that's missing? What is it that's missing? I came across this quote by Steve Jobs. And what he said was, I have looked in the mirror every morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am about to do today? And whenever the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. And that is exactly the point that I was at. I knew that I was stuck. How did I know? And you may recognize some of these symptoms of being stuck. I was exhausted all the time. I had no energy. I had no spark. I couldn't get excited about anything. I couldn't concentrate for very long. I forgot things. I had a sense that there was something else, but had absolutely no idea what that meant or what it looked like. But I actually didn't even really care either. I was so stressed out and so burned out. I had no feeling. I had no emotion. There just was, in a way you could say, there was no there. So I went and I read books, self-help books. I had friends I talked with, went through some retreats. I did some circle work with some women. And it all came down to one thing for me. I was stuck because I hadn't listened to myself. So then I learned to look at what happens when I listen to myself. Do you ever really stop long enough to listen? We're all so busy in our days that if we listen to anything, we listen to everybody else. We listen to what everybody else wants, what everybody else needs, what everybody else has a deadline for that we're supposed to be helping them get to. But do we listen to ourselves? So what happens is when we don't listen to ourselves, we start to get upset about things. All these little things start to bug us, right? And getting upset gives you some clues, like what ticks you off, what feels like, I don't really want to do this, it doesn't fit, but you don't say anything. What is not aligned with what's important to you? And when you look at your life, you may go through your day and all of a sudden something ticks you off, whether it's the guy in the car in front of you who cuts you off, or it's somebody who's taking too slow walking across the street. These are small things. But if you're not aligned, they seem huge. They seem huge. And so what are some of the other things that you can look at? Okay, let's say I'm upset with somebody, but who is this person who is involved? Is this my boss? Is this my friend? Is this my partner? Is this my child? How important is that person to me? Because the level of importance they have to me often is a direct correlation to how upset I get. I'm sure you can relate to some of that. So, in my journey, as I started to really look within and to really start looking at, what was I doing? I really came to wondering, where was I not speaking what's true for me? So I ask you, where are you not speaking your truth? What is ticking you off and doesn't fit and isn't aligned that you just let pass? You bite your tongue. You hold back your words. We all grew up, at least I did, and many of my friends, we grew up with the words, a child is to be seen but not heard. So we learned early on that we're not supposed to speak. We have these deeply ingrained beliefs that we're not even aware of. What do you think will happen if you do speak? It could be real, it couldn't. It's something to really look at. It's really something to look at. And so when you start listening within, you listen to yourself, ask yourself, what do you really feel? Do you really, really feel? Are you angry? Are you sad? Are you happy? Do you feel that something's not fair? Something's unjust? What are the things? How do you feel? And then, given that you feel that way, what do you really want? What is it that's at the core of this whole thing that you really want to have happen? If everything else disappeared, what do you really want in this situation? What is the best thing that you can imagine happening? So getting upset gives you all of these clues. And so it's really listening to yourself and then asking, what do I feel? What do I want? And then when will I speak up about what's true for me? When will I say, this is what I want. This is how I feel. This is what it would look like if I got what I wanted. So here's what I came to. If you want to get unstuck, first you think about it. You get all those thoughts about, what's happening, what am I upset about, who's involved. Then you stop. You just stop right there. Take a deep breath, 3 deep breaths, and just sit quietly, and then listen. Listen to the answers you give to yourself about how do you feel, what do you want, and when will you say it? When will you speak your truth? So you see, being upset gives you these clues where you can find out what is true, because quite often we're upset about something that's the opposite of what we want. So those are the clues. You have to really be a little investigator. Now, so let's put that to the side for a moment, and I want to mention values. When I work with people, one of the first things we do is we look at what are your core values. What are those values that are going to guide your life? whether you're conscious about it or not. When they start working with me, they become conscious of it. What are those core values that have to be in your life? And if they're not in your life, then you get upset. Things start to go wrong. You start to get distracted from where your true purpose is. So you have to look at what are your values. And once you look at your values, you look at aligning your values all along the line with your purpose. What is your purpose for being here in this world? What are the most important values? The top 3 are the ones that I always have as bottom line values. What is your vision that incorporates your purpose and values? What do you want to do in the world? What do you see can be different if you spoke out or if you acted on what your dream is? And then what are those actions that are aligned with purpose, values, and vision? What are those things? Small things. Often they're small things. What are those things that reflect those values, that reflect your purpose and vision and the dream that you're moving toward? And those actions, how are those part of your work? So purpose, values, vision, actions, and work. When we create our aligned life, we create what I call the dream maker life. It's really not about balance. It's not about they call it work-life balance. And the way I look at the world, it's not about work-life balance, because work-life balance means that one goes high and the other one goes low. And it's always on that teeter-totter. I don't see it that way. I see it that you have everything happening at the same time, your purpose, your values, your vision, your actions, your work. And it's just, okay, in this moment, how am I going to infuse this moment, this work, this vision, this purpose, this action, this discussion, this relationship? How am I going to right now bring my values into play? At every moment, you want to make sure you want to make sure that your values are being honored, and you are the first person to honor them. It's when other people don't honor them that we get upset. So I mentioned the dream maker life. Okay, when I look at the dream maker life, there are 5 main areas that I talk to my clients about. Now, the first area is, if you think, okay, draw a rectangle. And in the upper left corner, write finance. Now, what is finance? There are different areas of finance. It's your personal money, it's your joint money, it's your retirement, it's all of your investments, it's your career, it's your work, it's your business. All of those things are related to your finance. Okay? So then in the upper right corner, we have relationships. And in relationships, you have a lot of different relationships. First and foremost, you have your relationship with yourself. And that relationship with yourself is also your relationship with spirit. And I say spirit. I grew up Catholic, so I also say God, higher being, the universe. There are a lot of different ways that people refer to a spiritual connection. So that's one relationship, the relationship with spirit, the relationship with self, your relationship with your significant other, with your children, your family, your friends, relationships at work with coworkers, with vendors, with investors. These are all in the quadrant of relationships. Okay? So then the next one is in the lower right corner, and that's your physical environment. Now, that's your physical body. That's your physical surroundings. Where is your home? What is your vehicle? What are the grounds like around you? If you're not at home, what kinds of environments are you putting yourself inside? Are you surrounded by people who are smoking, or do you go take a walk out in nature? What are you exposing yourself? So your physical exposures that you're deciding to allow into your life. The lower left corner is your mental and emotional environment. Now, what's this? This is something that quite often we don't give much attention. This is time for yourself. This is your education or professional skills or personal interests. This is your personal growth, anything for your personal growth, your mental and emotional well-being, that intangible that is really infusing everything else in your life, right? So then if you look at this, you have your four quadrants, right? You have the finance in the upper left, you have relationship in the upper right, you have physical environment in the lower right, you have mental and emotional environment in the lower left, and right smack dab in the middle is spirit. Spirit, you are a person of spirit. We are people, we are spirits here in a physical body. And that spirit infuses all other areas. That spirit is almost like if you were to take this rectangle and you put it on the ground. And you took spirit and you grabbed spirit and you pulled it up, it would make a pyramid. It would make a pyramid because spirit touches everything. Spirit influences everything. It's right at the center. It's like the maypole. So spirit is right in the middle. It's the connection to something bigger than yourself. It's your connection to higher beings, to your guardian angels, to your helping spirits, to your orishas. It's connection to your intuition. All of that is in the background. And when you become conscious of it, it's in the foreground of all of your thinking and all your decisions and how you see the world and how you interact with the world. So your connection with spirit is so important. So jumping back to the values just for a minute, how do you identify your values? What I do is I put people through a process. It's a very simple process, but very profound. It's so simple and incredibly profound. And we look at what are your top life guiding values. We go through more than 70 values, right? And they identify their top 5 and their top 3. But there's a process to get to those, and you'll learn a lot in that process. So I'd like to share that with you. If you would like to find out, if you'd like to receive this process, I'm writing it up so that I can send it out to people. I can send you the process I put my clients through to identify their top life guiding values. So send an email to me, Bailan, at bailanmahino.com. So that's BAYLAN at BAYLANMEGINO.com. Or you can send a text to me at 510-463-4615. That's 510-463-4615. And just put in the subject values, and I'll know that that's what you want, and I'll get back to you, and you can let me know where I'm supposed to send it, okay? So when we look at the Dream Maker life, we look at creating an alignment with your finances, your relationships, your physical environment, your mental and emotional environment, and spirit. So what does that leave us with, right? These are all the areas to be addressed. We are left with just 2 things, with you and choice. You have total control over you, and you have total control over your choices. I know some people say to me, oh, I didn't have a choice. I had to do this. I had to do that. Actually, the bottom line is you do have a choice. You can say no. And I know that's really something that's hard for many of us because we weren't brought up saying no, but it's something to learn. It's a good thing to learn because you'll be much happier when you can gracefully say no. So going forward in each area of your life, what should you do? You should look at what are your values? What do you value? And what will you choose? What's important to you in negotiating your total compensation? Right? When you're trying to negotiate your compensation, you're looking at your values. You're really basing even whether it's something important to you to negotiate. You're basing it on what's valuable to you. Is flexible scheduling important to you? Well, maybe time with your family is one of your values. And that's why flexible scheduling is one of those things that you just have to have, right? So values are important, knowing what you value, and then deciding how are you going to have that show up in your life. So I know that as you're looking at your life and what's important to you in negotiating your total compensation, I know that Yvonne is offering a wonderful webinar series, and today's the first in the series. So Yvonne, would you mind telling us more?
Okay, yes, thank you. And Bylon, I really appreciate that. It really brought it home for me what you were talking about as far as our values. And I probably was one who always looked at that work-life balance and always looked at the scales and tried to balance the scales and make them actually equal out. But yeah, one always did get tipped on one side or the other. And that's also one of the reasons why I put this equal pay 7-part series together to break it down so that we could actually peel back the onions and really get to that, how do we get to that parity? And we have to have a salary plan. If we don't have a plan for anything, plan for your life, a plan for business, a plan just to go to the store, and you got to have a list of things of what you're going to buy in that store, even that simple. That's the plan. Because if you don't, you be like me, or be like most people. You go to the store, you're hungry, you walk around getting anything and everything. So the first thing that the very next session on next Thursday is going to be developing that salary plan. And we'll move directly from there into our education strategy. There has to be a strategy, because if you're sitting now with your degree, and your degree, you got that past 2007 or older, your degree is aging out, because you can see innovations are coming in not on an annual basis, not on a biannual basis, but they're coming in on a monthly basis. New innovations, new things are going on. We're already talking about what colonization on Mars will look like. Not, oh, it would be nice, wonderful to get there. We're talking about what are we going to do, how we're going to resolve the different issues. We haven't even got there yet. But we're definitely a lot further down the road than what many people might think we are. So therefore, you've got to educate yourself for tomorrow's workforce, for tomorrow's workplace. So we'll delve into just how to do that. And in session 4, we will go back to balancing your life. You got to make this work. It does. You have to strike a balance. You can't just be all work and no play, all play and no work. You have to have those things together, and you can't just allow yourself to be worked so hard to the point where you are exhausted and there's nothing left for you, and you're just simply working for a dollar or working to pay bills or, working towards something and there's nothing in there for you. That's when you leave empty. That's when you leave upset, like how Byline was telling us. Our values don't allow. We're upset all the time because things don't fit. So we look at how we balance that, and we definitely will have Byline back to, she'll probably be the one who actually carries that balance in your life very heavily for us to really help us understand how to do that. And then we'll move from there into a job versus a career. And I'm sure I don't have to really say much about that, because many of us have had those jobs, and then we actually had to begin really working on our career. And that's when basically we deliberately and on purpose go into a particular direction. In some of those directions we find us, and that leads us right into section 6, and that is, are we an entrepreneur? And sometimes what we find is that's where our calling actually is best suited for, and many times why we're not getting the things in the right particular jobs, or we're not getting our career up and off the ground the way we want to, is because what we're doing is we are trying to press down the fact that we're really an independent entrepreneur, and that's what we need to be doing. So we'll look at how that actually manifests itself, and then how to actually take that and implement it. And of course, There's always that that legacy plan. What are you going through? What is your legacy? What are you leaving behind? What seeds are you actually seeding in the ground that's behind you for those to come, for your children to follow, for others to follow, for the world to follow? What do you want to be as your legacy? And even your legacy, and you can be a living legacy, because that legacy, you can enjoy a lot of that now. We're seeing that a lot of people are retiring and are still going on and living, and beyond those years. The average age now is probably about 95. People are living to and living well to those ages. So that legacy plan also has to include you. So those are the things that we're going to actually be going through in the 7-part webinar series that we're going to have this summer. And again, it did start today, and we're very, happy for everyone that, attended. And this will go on until the 24th of August. So we're going to have a very fun summer. And that way, when we come after Labor Day in September, befitting as that will be, then we'll be able to actually have our plan and put it and implement it and begin to see the fruits of our labors with that. And what we're also going to do, and later on in the year, we'll be having, I'll be doing a live salary negotiation training, and that'll be Saturday, December the 9th, and you'll be able to, actually, click there, and you'll get this information will be sent to you after, at the end of the presentation. You'll be able to click on that link, and you can book your spot for that salary negotiation training, and that's when we actually do the roll up the sleeves, and we're there for about a good 6 hours, and that's when we really learn how to go to the negotiation table. So that's truly negotiation training is what that actually is, and that tops off, our series that we have throughout the years. So what I'd like to do is to open it up to say thank you to everyone, and to open up to any questions that we have. I'm going to flip back over, and I'm going to take a look here. I've had my screen on full screen. I'm going to see. I see that, yes, someone did ask a question, and they wanted to, what I'd like to do is, can you all tell me, someone, where are you from? If you can just put it into the attendee chat. I see we have someone here from Arizona, okay? And if you can just type into the chat where you're from, type into the bottom and just hit the enter. San Francisco, okay, excellent. Hello, City by the Bay. I miss San Francisco. I used to live out there. San Jose, okay, wonderful. How about those Sharks? Okay. Excellent. So we got Arizona, San Francisco, San Jose. Well, I knew the person from Arizona. They came and went back out, so she's probably off by now. Okay, Atlanta. Okay, wonderful. Okay, and then
Yvonne?
I'm from Atlanta. Yes.
For those people who are not looking at the screen, could you tell them what the link is where they can sign up?
Yes. The link that you can sign up is going to be http://bit.ly/negotiate and get salary you want. So it's NEGOTIANDESALARYYOUWANT. So it's http://bit.ly negotiate and get salary you want.
Right. So it's the http://bit.ly/negotiate and get salary you want, all in lowercase, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That's it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Okay. My
Okay.
question is, I know people who who either negotiate or they're just given tickets to baseball games, or they're given parking passes, or they're given access to a box seat. You know, whether it's at the opera, or the
Mhm.
symphony, or over at a sporting, a sports, game. Where does that fit in the whole thing about negotiating salary? Or how do they look
Um,
at that as compensation, or what is that?
those types of things are considered perks. Those are perks of the
Hmm.
job. Generally, um, when you are giving those, it may be those are oftentimes someone who is in sales and they have to take clients out, and so therefore, they may be given those types of those tickets, or even gift cards, or like you say, to the symphony or something like that. And many times they're given some extra tickets. And yeah, that's a
Hmm.
perk. That's really, and you can add that to the compensation package. But I mean, unless you're getting a box seat, that's really not that much. And many times that's also in line with what your job is. So you're taking clients to the symphony, or you're taking clients out, you're high-end clients, and so you tend to take them to different places like that, out to dinner, and you may even get additional, many times you get a credit card, and your credit card will have a nice sizable balance on it and limit, and you'll be able to utilize that. But that's primarily for you to still do the work of that company. Not and so you're just simply benefiting because the company has a box seat there, and you take your clients there, and now you're able to go, or if your clients don't want to go, you can take your family or your friends. So that's a part of it, but that would not be, I would not hang my hat on, um, that's more or less like an extra. Think of that as just an extra perk.
Okay, and if they
Bottom.
buy my laptop, or if they buy anything that I need for my job, is that considered part of salary, or is that part of equipment that they need to give to me anyway?
That can be a part. That's really equipment that they need to give you, because again, those things, without that, you can't do the job. So, and oftentimes what happens is, especially in today's age with computers and that sort of thing, the company, they want you to have a certain design of computer because their software is set up and designed to work on those types of systems. So therefore, they will buy that. So it will be no different. Actually, many times they're buying it and they're allowing you to use it. They assign it to you for that time you work for that company. And then when you leave that company, you generally leave that there. So that's how you can kind of determine, was this bought for me personally, or was this bought for me to use on the job? So that's just an extension. Now everybody's mobile, so they'll give you a telephone and they'll give you a laptop. And that's because your job is a mobile job. That's no different than you sitting in the office and getting a telephone and a desk and a desktop. The equipment belongs to the company, and they're giving it to you to have usage while you work for the company. So that's when you get into that part where we're breaking down, what am I actually getting? When you say, what do I have? That's something you have, no one can take back. That's when you can say, you can separate a equipment to do the job, or versus a perk of the job. I'm benefiting from this because I'm taking my clients here. So therefore, that's really, it's not 100% for you. It's more or less for you to do the work of that particular business. But when you're given something and that is just for you, and you get to take that with you. When I had an independent company, I had a voice over IP when that was first coming out company, and I bought computers for all of for my staff. I bought those computers and I gave that to my staff. so they did not have to return that. So therefore, that was a benefit to them, and that was factored as a part of their compensation. Now, if I bought the server system that I bought for that business, I kept that. They had access to it, but that was not theirs to take when they left.
I see. Okay, thank you for straightening that out.
Okay. So any other questions? I think this has been very fruitful webinar, and I would hope that everyone enjoyed what we had to offer and what we will continue to have to offer over the summer. I'm looking forward to really getting to know everyone, and would love to see any questions that you have, any additional questions that you may have. Please send your values to Bylon at bylonmahino.com. And put values in the subject line, and that way she can send you that information. Like she says, about 70 of them. So when we begin to really look and delve into those different types of things and how much there really is, then that's when we begin to say, wow, I'm worth a lot more than I think. I'm worth a lot more than I even counted. I didn't realize that was a value. And we began to have these conversations, and like I said, we began to speak our truth and speak our values. And that's what actually makes us the people that we want to be, so that when we show up, we know what our net worth is. Because trust me, your employer or your potential employer or your prospective employer, they know your value. They know what you are worth. That's why these human resources people that you're talking to, these recruiters, they know exactly what you are worth. But what you want to have is you want to have someone who's going to work on your behalf and not simply on the behalf of the company. But if you don't bring that knowledge to the table that you know, then you're not going to win on that situation. And you want to always create a win-win situation for both parties. So again, thank you. I appreciate everyone. And Bylon, if you had any other comments that you wanted to make or you wanted to tell to our participants?
Well, I wanted to thank you for having me on this session. This has been a wonderful session. I actually learned a whole lot. If you don't mind, I'd love to just go over real quickly the series and then the training. Would you mind if I do that?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So this is the this is the Equal Pay 7-part webinar series, which is going to be held on Thursdays from 6:30 to 7:30 Eastern, starting today. And so there are 7 sessions. The first one is today, June 29th. The last one ends on Thursday, August 24th. And the areas that are going to be covered are equal pay, getting to parity. That's what we just completed. The next one is your salary plan. After that, your education strategy, and then balancing your life, job versus career, are you an entrepreneur, and your legacy plan. All of those are free. Now, once you've gone through that 7-part webinar series, you might have some questions, or you might want to go through another series. I'm not sure if Yvonne's going to do it again, but I go ahead and go through the whole series. It's great information. If you wanted to participate in an intensive day of learning how to negotiate your salary, Yvonne is an incredible trainer. So she's going to be holding a salary negotiation training on Saturday, December 7th. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., probably a little bit longer, over in Atlanta at the Atlanta Courtyard Marriott. And if you wanted to find out more information and to reserve your space over there, go to bit.ly/negotiate and get salary you want. So http://bit.ly/negotiate and get salary you want, all in lowercase. I think it's going to be awesome. I wish I could be there, Yvonne. I really do wish I could, but I have to take our mom. So I hope that everybody goes to watches these webinars, gets all of this information. It's incredible because we really don't, we don't think about what our value is. We don't always think about what are all the different things that we should be able to ask for, but we don't get them if we don't ask for them. And if we don't know what they are, we can't ask for them. And Yvonne is going to be going through a really nice, thorough understanding. And if you go to the training, you'll get practice, and you'll get it with her. She's going to hold your feet to the fire. She'll do a really good job of it. You can learn how to do that, and maybe even be able to give some tips to her. Thank you so much, Yvonne. This has been fun. This has been fun. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you. All righty. And thank everyone for attending, and we look forward to your attending next week for the Your Salary Plan on July 6th. All right, thank you.
Thank you.